Ever wondered what makes TV so powerful in Jamaica? Time to find out. Welcome to Global TV Group 358, where television meets innovation. We're not just about shows, we're about shaping society. In Jamaica, TV keeps you informed, connects diverse voices, and supports democracy. Imagine a Jamaica where broadcasters unite, sharing data and collaborating globally. That's us, a unified voice in the TV industry. Did you know TV advertising is still king? It drives website traffic, boosts brand equity, and powers integrated campaigns. Even in an age of digital, TV stands strong, resilient in tough times. Our Global TV Deck is your treasure trove of insights and data. With charts, graphs, and success stories, it's your guide to impactful TV advertising. Curious to learn more? Visit our website and see how Global TV Group 358 keeps television at the heart of entertainment in Jamaica. Get ready to binge watch the future.
God of my salvation, because the mouth of the sinful and wicked is open. Rastafari. Come with I. Rastaman throw one stone, and it pick a bad feeling to all wicked men. That's a people there. Make a man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Only when man like Marcus Garvey speak, wicked men would I hear. Hear now hear. Instead of that, they only sit aside and rob and cheat, and not press the poor. Make up what I seen to. Make him a throw one stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Oh, what a plan! Make him a throw one stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. My favorite part: if Rasta make a progressive move, wicked men are red. How they want to see the didn't can sell out Rasta and sell it out. I sell out Babylon. Big man throw one stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Big man throw one stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. If Rasta make a progressive move, wicked men are red. How they want to see the dead can sell out Rasta. I sell out. I sell out Babylon. Just stop on the right. If I throw a stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Oh, what a black baby man throw one stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. You have eyes to see, let him see. You have ears to hear, let them hear. What a prophet must say. President Mandela was in prison for 20 odd years. And he leave from the prison and take the seat of the president. Stone one. Big man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. a man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men.
Stibbidim day. We in Global TV say certain kind of friend we no keep, and some informer friend we lovely. We in Global, bona fake friend and bona tape. We in Global, we not promote them, we not support them. Look at them on the cheek, come here represent for. We in Global TV, check it.
Good evening. It is Friday. It is Geopolitics Evening. Welcome to Global Television. Thank you for joining us this evening. And an evening when there is full-blown global trade war. It's all going down. So far, the US have been the hardest hit from Trump rant and rave across the channels and tunnels. But as we have watched the conventional wars played out many times in our life, this is our chance to see a real trade war in brewing. Good evening and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us, to my community of party and all my family members, platform moderators, membership holders, viewers, subscribers, commenters, and trolls. Good evening and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Oh, no. Give us a follow, everybody. If you're new to the program, give us a follow, give us a subscription wherever you are. Let me see who is on the tick. Alti, Stacian, Little Light, TT, Bethoy. Give us a follow and give us a like, please. Thank you all very much. This evening, we will look at the effects of Trump tirade and how the trade war is steadily progressing. We will also this evening look at the Killergates and the food industry. So I hope you can stick around this evening, because I know the educational topics bored you, but they are the important topics of our generation. Those are the information of our generation, and thereby I have to bring it to you whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, I have to bring such information to you. Because if I hear and I don't tell you, and you buck up in a danger, then a part of the responsibility is upon my shoulder. Some people will have heard some of the information already. It may be new to some people, but information cannot be too much, cannot be too old, and cannot be too boring, because it's information. And as I've always maintained to you, especially my Jamaican audience at home, we need to understand the world at a broader scope than how we understand things through our political lens at home. Sharon Bernard Beaton Teach, good evening, good evening. Welcome, Honolulu, Debbie Jervis TV. Good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Who else is here? Judy Roberts, good evening and welcome. Canadian gal, Paulette Lewis, good evening. Keith Matthews, Opal Watson, Kevin Davis. Is it Driver Gent Thinker? Is that how I pronounce it? Good evening and welcome. Thank you all for joining us this evening, on an evening when there's global meltdown in the markets. the markets are free falling, courtesy of Donald Trump. Let's see how it will pan its way out. Let's see how it will pan its way out. So far, the US is bearing a bigger brunt of the meltdown so far than anybody else, rightly so, as the trade war has been initiated by the United States. So it's only fair that the United States would bear the brunt, most of it, or could be all, if the economic wind would blow that way, but it wouldn't be. But it's their fight. So Adam face the brunt of it. Jamrock 8766. Debian, good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us. Tap up the screen for us, please. Give us a follow as well. Right, let us look at how Trump trade war is going from First Sport point of view, the Vantage program.
You are going to be so proud of your country. You're going to be so proud of your president. We're going to turn it around, and we're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. We're going to win so much. You may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more. We're going to win so much.
Donald Trump loves winning. You just heard him say that. His tariff plan was built on that promise. Trump wants to win global trade by waging a trade war. But today, there are no winners. Trump's trade war is making everyone lose, and the stock market is the biggest loser of all. The sell-off has been brutal. Just look at the numbers. America's Dow Jones, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, UK's FTSE 100,
Thanks, Debbie.
Germany's DAX, Japan's Nikkei, and India's Nifty. Every major index is in the red. It is a stock market Armageddon, and it was induced by the Trump tariffs. Now look at the losses in one day. American investors alone have lost some $2.4 trillion in one day. 2.4 trillion. This is the biggest.
About 2 years ago, over 4,000 people decided to invest in Mouse. And this
one-day wipeout since 2020. And that was the year the pandemic struck. So basically for the markets, the tariffs are proving to be as deadly as the Wuhan virus. And India has not been spared. Investors here lost some 9.5 lakh crore rupees today. That's over $110 billion, all thanks to a trade war that no one asked for. Trump says he's not surprised by any of this. He was expecting the markets to crash.
First, we'd love to get your reaction to what's going on in the financial markets today.
Well, I mean, it's to be expected. This is a patient that was very sick. It was a sick patient that went through an operation on Liberation Day. And it's going to be a booming country, a very booming country. It's going to be amazing, actually.
Trump says the U.S. economy is sick and tariffs are the cure. But as things stand, the cure is hurting more than the disease. He's right on one point, though. The sell-off is not surprising at all. Investors are jumping ship. They're dumping stocks because their investments no longer reflect the new reality. We are in a global trade war, and like all wars, it is chaotic. Donald Trump has not set any deadlines. He looks prepared to drag this out.
What we have is a set of tariffs based on what they've been charging us. That's reciprocal. And those tariffs have come in, and every country's called us. That's the beauty of what we do. We put ourselves in the driver's seat.
Some US trade partners are already hitting back. They have imposed retaliatory tariffs on the US. Others are mulling their options. We'll tell you more about this in just a bit. For the moment, let's look at the US president. He has targeted 60 countries and trading blocs. Not everyone will be able to strike a deal with him and get out of this. So if you're an investor, this is a tricky time to make bets. Be very careful. No one knows how this trade war will shape up. There is significant risk both in the short and the long term. Global agencies are sounding an alarm, like the International Monetary Fund or the IMF. Its head, Kristalina Georgieva, has issued a warning. She says Trump's tariffs threaten the global economy. Georgieva has appealed to the US that the IMF does not want a protracted war. They want America to end these trade tensions and reduce the uncertainty. And remember, the US is the IMF's largest shareholder, so this statement is quite significant. It is a rare criticism of the United States. But the IMF's concerns are valid. A global recession cannot be ruled out this year. Look at what JP Morgan is saying. It is the biggest American bank. It has raised the odds of a global recession to 60%, 60. Earlier, that figure was 40%. So Trump's tariff announcement has caused a 20% bump. The World Trade Organization, or WTO, is alarmed too. It has projected a 1% fall in global trade. Now, this is a contraction of 1%. And the WTO says that it is deeply concerned because tariffs would lead to a chain reaction. Although Washington is downplaying it, the US Vice President, J.D. Vance, says this is, and I'm quoting, this is just one bad day for the markets. Although he did warn about long-term pain.
You don't fix that stuff overnight. We know people are struggling. We're fighting as quickly as we can to fix what was left to us, but it's not going to happen immediately.
So how would this play out? Tariffs will make imported goods expensive. This will reduce the demand for goods, which in turn will impact factories, the ones that make these goods. The factories will be forced to cut supplies. This will disrupt supply chains and the job market. The high entry barriers will force companies to rethink their strategy. They will have to consider the cost of tariffs. They will have to relocate to avoid them. And none of this will happen overnight. But if the tariffs stay, it will happen. Hence the long-term pain. This is Donald Trump's gift to the world. What happens when you tariff the whole world? Simple, the world hits back. And President Donald Trump is learning that the hard way. Most countries have vowed retaliation. Some have already done it, like Canada and China. Yesterday, Canada imposed tariffs on US goods.
Thanks for the
specifically
follow.
on American cars. Most of them will soon attract 25% tariffs. And how many vehicles would it affect? Nearly 67,000 every year.
As I told President Trump during our call last week, Canada will respond to the U.S. auto tariffs. And today I'm announcing that the government of Canada will be responding by matching the U.S. approach, with 25% tariffs on all vehicles imported.
Hey, business owner, stop presenting from your head. If you're in your head, you're dead.
From the United States that are not compliant with CUSMA.
The Mark Carney, him is another thief, you know. Remember, Mark Carney would just become the Canadian Prime Minister. The Mark Carney was one of them top bankers as well. Mark Carney, a thief too.
Remember, Trump had already imposed steep tariffs on Canada, so he spared them on Wednesday, but his auto tariffs will affect Canada. Trump has slapped 25% tariffs on all foreign cars, 25%, which is why Canada has hit back. China too has retaliated. They will impose 34% tariffs on all US goods. Why 34? because that's what Trump is planning to charge China. He had already imposed a 20% blanket tariff on them. This week, he added 34% to that. China's tariffs will come into effect on the 10th of April. They're also curbing the sale of rare earths. 7 items used in consumer electronics have been listed. China will limit their exports to the US, and they're not done yet. Beijing is also taking Trump to court. They have already filed a lawsuit at the WTO, the World Trade Organization. China says Trump's tariffs violate established trade rules. Now, all of these are major moves. They pit the world's biggest economies against each other, America versus China, the top 2 global economies. Their bilateral trade is worth $580 billion. And that trade is now at major risk. Trump's tariffs will kick in on April 9 and China's on April 10. Meaning, next week, we will officially be in a trade war. Of course, this was expected from China. How else would a rival react to tariffs? But more worrying for Trump should be Europe's reaction. Yesterday, EU President Ursula von der Leyen promised retaliation. Later, French President Emmanuel Macron proposed a new idea. He wants to suspend all European investments in America.
I think what's important, and that's all the work that must be done by the sector, that future investments or investments announced in recent weeks should be suspended until things are clarified with the United States. Because what message will it send to have big European players investing billions of euros in the American economy at a time when we're being hit?
So how much money is at stake here? EU companies have invested $2.4 trillion in the US. That is the total investment. 2.4 trillion, obviously you cannot reverse the past deals. You can only suspend the new ones. And this will have a big impact on the US economy, but it also reveals Europe's insecurity. Many EU firms are trying to cut deals with Trump. Basically, they're trying to get individual concessions. For example, shipping firm CMA CGM, they announced $20 billion of investments in America. Luxury goods giant LVMH is planning more US investments. But now French President Macron is warning against it. He wants Europe to respond in one voice. And chances are they will hit back in kind. But expect it to take more time. The EU is expected to announce one round of tariffs by mid-April. They will target symbolic US goods like blue jeans, orange juice, and Harley-Davidson bikes. Now, just to be clear, this is not a response to this week's tariff. This is a response to Trump's earlier steel and aluminum tariffs. And that's the thing about the European Union. They always work behind schedule. Next is Britain. Trump has imposed just 10% tariffs on them. He says Prime Minister Keir Starmer was quite happy about it.
We're talking to the Prime Minister about it, and we'll see how that turns out. We have a very good dialogue going. And I think he was very happy about how we treated them with tariffs.
This message is for parents who don't have life insurance. For as little as £2.50 a week.
The UK is trying to reach a trade deal with America. At the same time, they're drawing up plans to retaliate. London is making a list of US goods that can be targeted. They have set a deadline of May 1st. If a deal is not reached by then, they will impose tariffs on America. So the UK's approach is more cautious. And they're not alone. A number of countries are pursuing talks. Argentina, Mexico, India, Japan, South Korea. None of these countries have hit back yet. Instead, they're trying to talk things out with President Trump. A few countries are also planning ahead. They know that certain industries will be hit by the tariffs, so they're setting aside money to support them. For example, Taiwan, their government has announced a package of $2.7 billion. This will mostly help industries and agriculture. The fact is, every country would like to settle this issue with talks. After all, the US is the biggest market in the world. But the problem is, they don't know what Trump wants. Does he want to reduce the deficit? Does he want to make in America? Does he want fairer trade rules, or does he want all of this? It is not clear. And remember, these responses will keep piling up. Other countries just have to deal with America's tariffs, but America has to deal with tariffs from all over the world. Let's see how long Trump can keep this up.
Hold on. I want you to see how Trump is really progressing with his demolition. Just bear with us.
We are looking at pharma right now, pharmaceuticals as a separate category. And we'll be announcing that sometime in the near future, not too distant future.
It was just another Thursday until it wasn't. The markets opened, they bled, and by the closing bell, the top 500 companies lost around $2.5 trillion. $2.5 trillion. It's not because of a military conflict. It's not because of oil or even Silicon Valley drama. It's Trump's tariff announcement. That is what tanked the stocks. It was a seismic sell-off. For the Magnificent Seven, the tremors ran deep. I'm talking about America's tech giants, Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla. Together, they're called the Magnificent Seven. It's because of their dominance of the stock market, these 7 companies. But yesterday, they stumbled, and how? The Magnificent Seven lost a combined total of $1 trillion. $1 trillion wiped out in a day. The worst hit was Apple. Apple shed $310 billion in just one day, and it's because of how Apple operates. About 80% of iPhones are produced in China. India produces around 7%, and Vietnam assembles 20% iPads. Now, all of these nations have been hit by high tariffs. And the math was brutal. According to some estimates, Apple's costs could go up by $40 billion every single year, 40. The tariffs leave Apple with a difficult choice. Option 1, pass on the higher costs and hope that the consumers will not mind. Option 2, swallow the tariffs and see the profit slump. Chances are they will choose option 1 and pass on the cost to the consumer, which means iPhones will get even more expensive. Right now, the iPhone 16 sells in the US for $799. It could go up to $1,142. The iPhone 16 Pro Max currently sells for up to $1,599, almost $1,600. That could rise to almost $2,300, a $2,300 phone. Will people even buy it? That's what's worrying investors. And that is why Apple stocks are slumping. Then there's Nvidia, everyone's favorite chip maker. Its chips are produced in Taiwan. The island got slapped with a 32% tariff. But here's the twist. Semiconductors themselves are technically exempt from the tariffs. There is no tariff on them yet, on semiconductors. But the stuff they go into is not exempt. Things like your laptops, servers, gaming rigs. These are not exempt from tariffs, which is why Nvidia lost around $210 billion.
Caroline, thank you.
The third big loser was Amazon. Amazon is heavily dependent on Chinese imports. It lost around $180 billion, $180 billion. And it's the same issue again. 20% of all Amazon goods come from China. So the new tariffs will impact the company.
Thank you,
they will set it back by millions of dollars every year. But it wasn't just the Magnificent Seven that bore the brunt. Retail companies, too, are being clotheslined, quite literally.
I think we have a good understanding of where Trump's trade war is. A trade war against China only, Trump wouldn't have come out, or America wouldn't have come out successful. Never mind a global trade war. The world, America, against the rest of the world. You ask the question, Beat and Teach, what does this mean for little Jamaica? Just like a conventional warfare where they drop bombs on children, in an economic warfare, you still have the price backlash or the shortage of certain items or the rise in the price of oil and grains and all of that. But with the trade war, whoever imposed the tariff, say Trump imposed tariff on Jamaica, the U.S. manufacturers or entities who import things from Jamaica will then have to sell it more expensive to the people in the US because they're paying Trump extra tax what they never used to pay. So they will have to pass that price on to the consumer. So the price of things get more expensive. And that's vice versa on both sides. Because if retaliatory tariff are applied, it's the same thing. Jamaica imposed Jamaica imposed a retaliatory 10% tariff on America. Then any product we import from America, the price of those things would go up. Or if the importers say we cannot pay these tax to Andrew Holness because they're not being paid to Trump. If we cannot pay these tax to Andrew Holness, we're not going to buy this product. So you, the public, will be at disadvantage of the product, or if they choose to buy it, Miss Williams, how you do, then you're going to pay a higher price. So the backlash of that vice versa goes anyway, both ways. The global market work based on confidence. Right now, the way how Trump are going, there is no confidence in the market. So the meltdown today wasn't actually surprising because confidence would have been shattered by nobody know how Trump is going to think when he gets up the next morning, and whether he took his pill before he went to bed the night, and whether his pill works, or whether he woke up and somebody irritate him, or you might never know. So you're going to have all these tiggy-taggers. But we're going to move over to another interesting part of the program. At the end, we'll talk about Jamaica becoming a republic. But for now, we will look at the Killergates.
The German company Bayer bought
the Killergates and our food industry, because I think it is important we know all of what is going on around us, who is paying for what, who is controlling what, and we need to keep a close eye on Bill Gates. I hope YouTube does not subject me to anything for this, because this is a program already YouTube been aired on YouTube. So let's look at the Killergates and our food industry.
The German company Bayer bought US seed maker Monsanto for $63 billion in 2018. It inherited billions of dollars worth of lawsuits from farmers who claimed its weed killer Roundup had caused their cancer.
So the companies are merging that are directly known to cause the disease with a medical company that has a treatment for the disease.
The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation made a significant investment in Monsanto. They purchased 500,000 shares of Monsanto stock, which was valued at approximately $23.1 million. The foundation aims to help Africa achieve its own green revolution.
So your grandmother, 86, in the village, cannot plant her cassava. So when we say they are literally criminalizing agriculture, that's what we mean. So like if you do agriculture the normal way we did it, it's actually a criminal offense.
This effort includes investing in genetically modified crops, such as GMO rice, to improve crop yields and resilience.
It's about patents. So whoever controls the seed owns it. And eventually, if that seed gets to us, they also control us.
You could have a case where the initial research is done by a Gates-funded institution. The media reporting on how well that research is conducted is a Gates-funded journalist from a media program. And then the program is implemented more widely by a Gates-funded NGO.
There is a reason why Ibrahim Traore is always trying to push self-sufficiency for African nations. It is not just about controlling the profits of the produce and resources that a country makes. It's also to prevent the meddling, the interfering, and the predatory tactics of those who wish to find their own ways to profit off the stuff that an African country produces. Someone that is front and center of this type of meddling is Bill Gates. Through the company Monsanto, which is now Bayer, that his foundation owns a significant portion of shares in. They do all kinds of meddling that negatively affects the African continent under the guise of food safety and security. If you want to understand how dark and negative this is for the continent of Africa, stay tuned.
This ebook direct from your content, whether it's a Microsoft Word document.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is TJ. I am Nigerian and British mixed. A couple of years ago, I moved to Uganda to start a new life with my partner, Medina. And I started this channel to talk about my experience. However, my channel has evolved because every day I'm confronted with issues surrounding the relationship between Africa and the rest of the world, particularly the West. I believe if Africa reaches its full potential, it will be better not just for Africa, but for the globe entirely, which in this case has brought me to the one and only Bill Gates. Bill Gates, of course, is a billionaire. He made his money through Microsoft. He's now turned his sights on vaccines and on agriculture. Through one way or another, he owns massive land in America and increasingly land in Africa through the Bill and Melinda Foundation. Now, he will tell you it's all because he wants to end hunger and disease in the world, and he wants to use his money for positive things. Unfortunately, there are too many questions and anomalies and dark corners that are being uncovered about all these different pies that he's got his fingers in.
Cows and other grass-eating species have a digestion system that emits methane. And methane is a very powerful greenhouse gas. And so cows alone account for about 6% of global emissions. And so we need to change cows, just cows alone.
How are we going to do that?
Well, actually, of all the categories, the one that has gone better than I would have expected 5 years ago is this work to make what's called artificial meat. And so you have people like Impossible or Beyond Meat, both of which I invested in.
You eat it as well, and you like it?
Absolutely.
You do.
You can go to Burger King and buy the Impossible Burger.
All right. Is it healthier for you or just healthier for the atmosphere?
It's slightly healthier for you in terms of less cholesterol. It's, of course, dramatic reduction in methane emissions, animal cruelty, manure management, and the pressure that meat consumption puts on land use.
So right there, he's talking these horrible cows that we've had for millions of years, these horrible cows that produce 6% of methane in the world, we need to stop eating them. Now, one argument is that we've industrialized the cattle industry, and this has produced unprecedented amounts of methane. But he said it's worth 6% of the global methane production. First question I would ask is, what is the 94%? Well, the 94% comes from a range of other things, such as all of the fossil fuel industry that we use. So what is the incentive to talk about cows and cattle and methane? Well, he mentioned the first thing, which is he wants us to eat the more healthier versions of meat substitutes. And he said here that he invested in some of these companies that produce this vegan meat-like produce that is slightly healthier for you. Here's something that I've copied and pasted from Perplexity, the AI tool. You can go and do your own research if you want to verify any of this. But let's look at these meats, these artificial meats that he's saying are healthier. Meat replacements like Beyond Burger and Impossible Burger often contain a variety of additives, including emulsifiers and other chemicals to mimic the texture, flavor, and appearance of real meat. Emulsifiers such as poly, whatever that is, 80 and carbolar cellulose. You know, whenever you look at a packet and you see those long words that you can't pronounce, you know that there's something wrong with the food, are used to stabilize a mixture of ingredients and improve texture. However, studies suggest they may disrupt the gut microbiome, leading to inflammation and increased risk of conditions like inflammatory bowel disease, obesity, and cardiovascular issues. This meat that he's saying is more healthy. Soy hemoglobin. Found in Impossible Burgers, soy hemoglobin is genetically engineered compound, and we're going to hear a lot about GMO foods, GMO meddling later in the video, that gives plant-based meat bloody appearance. While classified as generally recognized safe, GRAS, or the FDA.
I don't know, Bill Gates and Andrew Holness have something what we don't know going on. Bill Gates buy up whole. I wonder if the information them what the Integrity Commission call for, we're going to find out if Andrew Gear sell none of land to Bill Gates or any company representing Bill Gates.
The animal studies have raised concerns about potential alterations in blood chemistry. How many of you out there are interested in altering your blood chemistry? For me, not really. Synthetic preservatives, additives like tertiary but hydroquine TBHQ, excuse my bad pronunciations, I'm terrible at reading words like that, are used to prevent discorrelation and have been linked to health concerns such as cancer in animal studies. Artificial colors and flavors, ingredients like erythrosine are used for visual appeal, but have been associated with cancer risk in high doses. Again, cancer risk's not something I'm interested in my food, thank you. Compounds like magnesium carbonate used for color retention and propylene glycol, a moisturizer, are also present in some products. While generally regarded as safe in small amounts, the industrial use raises concerns for consumers, and they round up here with the health concerns. Many of these additives are considered safe by regulatory bodies like the FDA when consumed in moderation. However, emerging results suggest that long-term and high-level consumption of certain emulsifiers and synthetic additives could negatively impact gut health, inflammation levels, and overall well-being. So I don't think it is healthier. And one of the companies that he owns shares in, Bayer Monsanto, they push things like vaccinations for animals, RNA vaccinations. Where have we heard that before? So Bill Gates comes to Africa. He says, you have a problem with food and hunger. I'm here to save you so that everyone can be fed, not be hungry anymore. Just use my methods.
What they're doing on the animals, they're actually poisoning our food. mRNA doesn't die. It will go to the skin, it goes to the milk, it goes to the meat. So essentially when they vaccinate animals, they mess the meat we consume, they mess the milk. You can imagine all the milk we consume every single day will be mRNA invested. That's what they're doing. When I have an opportunity, I tell people, anything for free, anything you get for free from these governments, avoid. We are not anti-vaxxers, Brian. We are not anti-government. No, we are critical thinkers.
So what you've got to realize is that through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they work with NGOs that go into African countries and push these types of vaccinations. Then the pressure is really applied for change in the favor of people like Bill Gates, because the government now pushes initiatives. One of the things that is also in those artificial burgers and is actually the cheapest form of oil that I see throughout Africa, and it's also in the West, is the production of seed oils.
In the body, we can create an environment that's very hospitable for cancer. We can create an environment that's very inhospitable to cancer. So let's talk about a biome that is inhospitable to cancer. It's not really inviting cancer. So we can talk about removing the unnecessary assault on our cellular biology. So things like pesticides, herbicides, glyphosates, insecticides, preservatives. So eating whole foods in their natural format, avoiding things like seed oils. And if you still don't believe the research on seed oils, Paul Saladino just did a great short documentary on it. What we do is we take these canola plants or rapeseed plants, we put them in a commercial press, and the oil comes out very gummy. So we degum it with something called hexane, which is a neurotoxin. Then we take that neurotoxic degummed oil and we heat it to 405 degrees and we turn it rancid. Okay, so now you have a putrefied, rancid oil. So then we have to deodorize it. So we deodorize it with sodium hydroxide, which is a known carcinogen. And then we, in some cases, will even bleach it, then bottle it, then put it on the shelf. So it's sometimes it's not even from food to the table. So if you're listening to this, I would make today the day you get seed oils completely out of your diet.
So they have these synthetic things that they produce and they put them on the crops, and then they mass produce these things, and they do it in such a bastardized way that there's now evidence showing that it causes cancer. It is so dark. There's more than one way that these companies are linked to bringing cancer to us. Remember, it's always in the guise of helping humanity. We know about the tobacco industry that for years told us cigarettes are healthy, there's nothing wrong with cigarettes. But now we've turned the corner and we know that cigarettes cause all sorts of damage, including lung cancer, right? You can go down the list of companies that have bought media that promote a message that is harmful for the people, but is profitable for the companies. Let's see how that works for Bill and Melinda Gates.
The study from the pressure group Global Justice Now paints a picture of the Gates Foundation, partly as an expression of corporate America's desire to profit from Africa, and partly a damning critique of its effects.
You could have a case where the initial research is done by a Gates-funded institution. The media reporting on how well that research is conducted is done. The media outlet is a Gates-funded outlet and maybe a Gates-funded journalist from a media program. And then the program is implemented more widely by a Gates-funded NGO. I mean, there are some very insular circles here.
So do they have our best interests at heart? You know, all Bill Gates has to do is turn up with a nice smile to some leader of some country or some panel. He shakes the hand, he smiles, he looks so disarming. I'm the benevolent billionaire that's here to save you. I'm going to put out all of this media and research. I remember hearing about some study that said that milk chocolate was not bad for you. And in very small quantities, it's probably not that bad. But the research was done by a chocolate company. And then that was promoted and put forward, and they fund how these things go out. You know, influencers are not just people on YouTube channels and Instagram selling you, you know, a slimming drink. They are part of the big machine, the big newspapers, the big radio stations, the things that people of my parents' generation believed in wholeheartedly, that these guys are promoting the truth and journalism is true and honest. But I believe that a lot of this journalism is bought and paid for.
And if you look at what Monsanto makes, which is Roundup, which is the most widely used pesticide in America, the cancer that it causes is non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. They paid out $11 billion in the past couple of years for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cases. So the companies are merging that are directly known to cause the disease with a medical company that has a treatment for the disease. Like, this is very, very dark.
So Bayer is over here, Monsanto is over here. Bayer makes these products like Roundup that they push onto the agriculture industry. And there is a link between that product and cancer. Then they merge with Monsanto, and that company has the cure. So now there's a conflict of interest within the same company, and those that own shares in those companies profit from that. On top of that, Monsanto is big on patents. Seed patents. You can just look across Africa and find all of these countries that have debts to the IMF. These debts are considered predatory by anyone's standard. When a country defaults or they say they're struggling to...
Remember, Marco Rubio said China debts are predatory, forgetting theirs operate in the same or worse aggressive frame.
Pay these debts, they repackage the loan. And they don't just do it all with finance repackaging. What they do is they bring in Monsanto and they say, right, you've got to follow the standards by which Monsanto set in your country. So then the leaders are beholden to these systems that cause all of these issues that we're talking about. So you can't just take your crops and grow your natural seeds. No, the country influences and then sometimes legislates so that it becomes illegal for you to use those seeds.
Stretching will not make you flexible, and it will not eliminate your recurring injuries. Stretching will relax your muscles and make you feel good in the moment, but it will not make you strong, mobile, or resilient. You need to strengthen your joints, build strength through a full range of motion.
You must use the patented ones. In some cases, not all, but in some cases, these seeds produce yields that themselves have seeds that are invalid. So you have to keep going back to buy the seeds from Monsanto.
For me, the problem I have with GMO is the erosion of the sovereignty of the people, especially when it comes to food and seed.
So just to be clear, GMOs are primarily what Monsanto pushes.
I wouldn't say there's anything good about GMOs because one, GMOs take away our sovereignty as a people, and especially small-scale farmers. GMO is about influencing or controlling what we eat. So somebody somewhere is sitting in a laboratory coming up with a maize variety and telling Africans that, you know, I want you to consume this kind of maize variety. So what happens to us as a people? Like, do we have a choice to make in terms of, no, I don't want to eat this, or I would like to consume this? What about the foods that we've always consumed? This is what we want to eat. This is what we want you to eat. The second reason why I am not for GMOs is about patents. So whoever controls the seed owns it. And eventually, if that seed gets to us, they also control us.
And the truth is, we've already started seeing this control being rolled out throughout Africa. You know, I used Perplexity to search what are seed patents for? Like, what are the benefits of this? Without asking it to, it created this two-sided table, which has corporate rationale. And I thought that was quite interesting in of itself, that AI took it upon itself to already embed the criticisms right there off the bat, just me asking about seed patents. So if we just go through this quickly, recoup R&D costs. You know, these companies have done all this research and they use the patents to make sure they can still profit from the research time they took to figure out these seeds. Incentivize innovation and climate resilient crops. They always attach something like climate change or some issue around a problem that the world perceives as a righteous cause, to make it seem like what they're doing is good. Prevent unauthorized replication of patented genetic traits. This one I have a big problem with. So the ecosystem of Africa over millions of years has produced something, a unique type of fruit or vegetable that we consume that nourishes our body. And now what we're going to do is go and take that food that was developed over millenniums in the soil and ecosystem of Africa, put it in a lab, and then say we now control the production of this so that the place where it came from cannot profit from it. They can profit from it, selling it back to the place and around the rest of the world. This is food colonialism. Ensure seed quality and performance through controlled distribution. Of course, the people that have been farming these seeds cannot possibly be trusted to take care of the seeds properly. We must control the distribution and the quality and the performance of these seeds. How insulting. Do you think people that have been living in symbiosis with nature for millions of years suddenly are not going to be shepherds of that relationship? But no, we know better. We're going to come and meddle in these things. You know, so it reduces farmers' autonomy. It concentrates seed ownership into 4 companies, of which I'm sure Monsanto is one of them. Risks genetic diversity loss. Just like if you do incest in humans, it produces these problems in the offspring. The same happens with seeds.
It's a takeover. You heard him call it the food, the colonization of food. It's a takeover of the entire food industry. This is why I said we must keep a careful, close eye on what our governments are doing. And when them not answer, we should still question them. We not just sit down docile and make everything a pop down around us, and then we end up shocked when everything just pop out in front of it. And Africa alone, Bill Gates are going so. Bill Gates are buy up farmland in the Caribbean as well. And the licky and love money. We need to focus and understand what going on. We see Andrew and Bill attack and shake and smile, and we want to know what them attack and shake and smile about.
We need biodiversity. It can't just always be about bigger and better crops. It also has to be about the long-term sustainability of our foods. Legal ambiguity around accidental cross-pollination liabilities. I mean, what they do is that they're just looking to be predatory in their litigation against people that grow crops.
Farming is going to be like like this specialized profession. So you cannot farm, you cannot engage in any agricultural activity if you're not registered. That's why they're calling it the Agricultural Professionals Bill. So your grandmother, 86, in the village, cannot plant her cassava. These people forget that a human being and nature are supposed to exist symbiotically, like we coexist. Yeah. So us as nature, we are one. That's why anyone, as learned as you may be, as moneyed as you may be, you want to even have flowers in your house. Okay, you want to plant something. So when we say they are literally criminalizing agriculture, that's what we mean. So like if you do agriculture, the normal way we did it, it's actually a criminal offense. And let me also mention, in the Agriculture Professionals Bill, that is actually where we have a fine of $500,000 in that bill. Yes. If you're caught practicing any form of agriculture without being registered, that's where you're getting a fine of $500,000, and we have a jail term of 2 years in that particular bill.
So I hope you see now the connections. So there is a billionaire, and he is connected to a foundation that owns shares in Bayer Monsanto. And this company can use its media influence, its connections to the IMF and the banking industry to come into African nations and take control of the way agriculture is produced, all for an agenda that profits them massively. It takes away the autonomy of the African to produce the profits for the resources that is native to Africa. The practices and the stuff they do to the agriculture has connections to disease and cancer. Ladies and gentlemen, now you understand why Ibrahim Traore is not interested in dealing with exterior agricultural influences. He promotes the idea of being self-sufficient. And I, for one, am for this because we don't want to sell cancer and disease to our own. I'm sure you have your comments to make. Please put them in the comment section. But if you do not have anything to write, would it be too much trouble for me to ask that you write the words, no, Bill, no? It just lets me know that you like the content, you enjoy what I'm bringing, and you want me to continue. Thanks so much for.
No, Bill Gates, no. No, Bill Gates, no. Leave our agriculture alone. Leave our farmlands alone. We must take care, keep a close full eye. Any one of our leaders, them will say a kosher up to Bill Gates. We must always want to know where we lead and Bill Gates in. What them a plan for we. What they are selling or giving to Bill Gates that will come back to haunt us. A whole heap of Bill Gates want to get rid of, Especially we poor people. Bill Gates not like poor people. The walk, when you see my walk, and I go on like him charitable and this and that. Ask him what in the legal them where I walk around with charity with. But as promised, we were going to talk about Jamaica becoming a republic tonight. And we will stick to that. Evan Hunt, good evening. Jamaica becoming a republic. One of my issue with all that first, I'm not in a position at all Jamaica becoming a republic. However, I think before we go down the whole route of revised and amendment, that the people of Jamaica understands the Constitution. And I think the government, those of us in the media, including myself, civil society, and all that, have a responsibility to make sure the people understands the Constitution. Why that is important? If you don't understand the present Constitution, how it works, it powers your rights, how they tied together, you're not going to understand anything as to what the new revision means. So I do think, Marcia, Norman, we ought to have a constitutional education before we drive forward. Given I have brought that topic to you last night about the law of the land versus the law of the sea, and a lot of the tanglings that we get into is under the commercial law, the law of the sea. The law of the land, natural law, is the law that you and I live by and do business by and operate by, which doesn't benefit the fictional society. People need to have a greater understanding of the Constitution and participation in the amendment to the Constitution for us to become a republic. Why I do not agree with Andrew Holness taking the revised forward. Jennifer Johns, good evening. Andrew Holness seemed to be doing it for his own political gain. As to where he wants to do it piecemeal, which I don't agree with, I think we should just jump over the rope and go on with business further. And we'll put over one foot. And I said, mind how hard you skip the rope before you hit me by my private area. One come out and done. Leave the common, you can still be a part of the Commonwealth. That's a different club. Leave Prince Charles as the head of state and leave the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council as well, and take up jurisprudence at the Caribbean Court of Justice. Andrew Holness going forward with it, not having proper consultation with the diaspora community. I'm not saying they did not have not proper or enough consultation with the people of Jamaica. A proper consultation with the Rastafarians and the Maroon communities. Andrew have not done that. And if you're taking the constitutional review, you want everybody voice or as a group be heard, be recognized. It does not seem to be going in that direction at the moment. Hence is why the People's National Party haven't signed up to phase 1 of the whole thing, which make it useless for Marlene Malahou Forte to take a legislation to Parliament because there is no consensus on how the government is going forward. Of course, we should leave the Crown, we should leave the Privy Council, but with the people, as a major part, Michael Henry, of the process. The people leading and guiding the process, not government officials guiding the process in order to ring fence their self in political power. It is about making sure the rights in our Constitution are protected, reinforced. Our Constitution is enhanced, not toned down. Our Constitution caters to all of us as different groups of people within the country, rather than I'll do this piece now and I'll do this piece after. It does not give certainty. Given especially the Privy Council, which the Jamaica Labour Party seem to want to come out of and haven't given a clear direction and how they would go on it. They seem to want to stick with the Privy Council. It is already an issue, and it would have continued to be an issue when it comes to access to justice. Access to justice does not mean that the Privy Council is there and you can appeal to the Privy Council. Access to justice deals with affordability. In the case of the Privy Council, it also deals with geography. It deals with bureaucracy. So there's a whole lot of blockage there when it comes to access to justice. So I wholly do not agree with how Andrew Holness is taking it, but certainly we ought to become a republic. Now, that's another issue of contention, because the process has been guided by Marlene Malahou Fort, which is utterly confused, because we only know of two types of presidency. Is either you're a ceremonial presidency or C. Young, good evening and welcome. Either you are a ceremonial presidency that just does the ribbon cutting and the state ceremonials and all of that, and meet presidents, meet heads of state, visit heads of state, and all that jazz, and the local state protocol right across the board. As opposed to the executive president, which in some country, they have a domestic as well as an international portfolio. Some countries, it's mainly an international portfolio. But I do not agree either with having a ceremonial president. Ingrid, welcome. How you do? I do not agree with having a ceremonial president. I don't think after paying the Governor General for however long our independence, paying a Governor General to cut ribbon, shake hand, and put his signature on paper and read the throne speech. I don't think we should be paying so much money for a person just for theatrics and pomp and circumstance without they're doing any meaningful work. And that's why I think we should that's why I think we should become a republic with an executive president. Now, or legislative assembly. I would argue also under a constitutional review that our legislative assembly be overhauled, meaning at the moment we have an unelected Senate where they're appointed by the leader of the opposition and the prime minister, and they make our laws. I think as a part of that process, we ought to elect our senators as well as our president, not have these people given position of powers by appointment. Shakes Juliet, I'm not Delroy, I'm Wayne. How are you? Barbara, good evening. I don't believe we should have these appointed people, appointed president and appointed Senate. I think as a part of that review, we ought to, as us, the voice of the people, those are the issues we need to press for. And because it's almost inevitable that the review will be carried forward, led by the People's National Party after the general election, I think that us, the people, should press for those two important areas where we the people, elect the president of our country, should we become republic, as well as the upper chamber, Mr. Richards. How are you doing, my friend? As well as the upper chamber of the legislature, now that I know what one. As well as the upper chamber of the legislature, we elect those people as well. So this is why I do believe and is of the opinion that the people's voice is it's needed to be heard more in the constitutional review. And hence is where I start as saying, I think there should be a constitutional education before going forward. Because if the people are to be engaged, you want them to understand what they're engaging with. And it's clear a lot of us are not aware of our rights, not aware of our constitution, how it works, not aware of how the system of government works, or how the system of a country works, how the different branches of the Constitution interact, overlap, and throw each other up against the wall if needs be. And it is on that principle why I supported the education policy of the People's National Party with a return of civic education and agave philosophy on the syllabus. So, I hope I have answered the question and I have not confused anyone in the way I have answered the question. But I do believe people ought to be aware of what is happening and be informed so they can have proper engagement, proper and meaningful engagement in the exercise of our constitutional review. Oops, Prime Minister. Uno find out yet what happened to the Prime Minister face? Me no like how the Prime Minister look. Counter the Donald Trump galangin. The Prime Minister look topsy-turvy. You know when you hear bad news, but you have to keep your composure, but you can't compose your face.
Once we see the downside of the disruptive global order that we have now, we're not going to sit by and wait. There are opportunities that must be had. And so I urge my manufacturers, my business people, before you start to look at the negative, also look for the opportunities. In the past, we used to hope that good friendships will come to our rescue. In the past, there are those.
Go and drop word for Donald Trump to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, go and drop word for Donald Trump today.
Who believe the world owed us something. That is not my stance, and I have not run this government in that way. We must be prepared for shocks. And we must be resilient. We must be able to absorb the hit and recover. And we must put ourselves in a position to always be welcomed at the table to negotiate. The recent announcement by the United States government of a 10% baseline tariff on imports from all countries set to take effect on April 5th, 2025, introduces a significant shift in global trade policy, one that could impact Jamaica's market access to our largest trading partner. While the government of Jamaica has not yet received formal notification on the precise implementation procedures, including whether these new tariffs will override existing CBI provisions, we are actively engaging with the United States Trade Representative and other relevant authorities to seek urgent clarification. We are also conducting a detailed technical assessment in collaboration with relevant ministries and agencies to fully understand the scope of these tariffs and their implications for Jamaica's trade and industrial policy. These developments do not reflect any erosion in the long-standing and strong bilateral relationship between Jamaica and the United States.
Prime Minister, why you don't stop tell lie? How it don't cause erosion, Prime Minister? Because this is not something we are going to benefit either the US or the Jamaica economy. And you want to tell me, say, there's no erosion in the bilateral relationship we want to have? So what other relationship we want to do that trade and tariff war upon Prime Minister? If it don't erode the bilateral relationship, the bilateral relationship would work it out, thus it don't get this far. If there's not an erosion in the bilateral tied my fucking tongue tonight relationship, Prime Minister. Why you so lie, sir? Why you so lie and love to mislead me when you see camera? Chef James, welcome. Thank you. Why this man is so lying? Turn up in front of the camera. Bex as Brahman bull cow. When US a slap on tariff on you, I don't know if you have planned to slap it back on, and you tell me there's no breakdown in the relationship. If there's no breakdown, Prime Minister, when Little Hand Marco come to Jamaica, Marco shouldn't work out something to prevent this tariff in it. And then something, then you could have come out and tell us that there's no erosion in the. Why you so light, young man? Why are you terrible?
Rather, it reflects a broader recalibration of U.S. trade policy that is global in scope. Still, we will use every available diplomatic channel, including working with our CARICOM brothers and sisters and utilizing the Office of Trade Negotiations to seek to preserve the positions our exporters have secured over decades of deepening trade ties with the United States.
God know me fed up of you. Because there's so much at stake with this trade war. Tiny, how you do? With this trade war, with Trump tantrum and China, with Trump tantrum and Cuba, the issue, our Prime Minister is not communicating to us. We don't know to date what the Prime Minister definitive is on any of these issues. Because all of what the Prime Minister said just now, you could have just come out, Prime Minister, and saying, "Baba, black sheep, have you any wool?" And we would understand you, because we know that well, Prime Minister. We don't understand what you're talking about. We never hear what you say. And if we even hear it, go to 1 year and come to the other. Because Prime Minister, every time you talk, we're dizzy because it's a going around in circles. It's a going around in circles, Prime Minister. You need to speak to the nation. These are critical issues. These are issues, Prime Minister, that is going to affect us as a nation. Not 1-1, not 2-2. Like how other governments are be honest with their people, Prime Minister, for once be honest with us. For once, Prime Minister, be honest with us. These are critical issues. The trade war is going to have a global backlash. High prices, shortage, possible high prices, possible shortage. Also, we want to know. We want our leader to guide us, Prime Minister. We're not getting that from you at the moment. We want to know if our health will be put at risk by sending home the Cuban health workers in order to appease Donald Trump. Leadership, Prime Minister. Leadership. Leadership, Prime Minister, in a time of crisis. You say you lead us through COVID. You say you lead us through burial. Lead us through the trade war. If you say our leader, lead us through the trade war. Don't hide behind one of the other, because this is not when America can silence China. China is rolling its muscles. China is rolling its muscles. You need to speak definitively, Prime Minister. We're still yet to understand what is our Prime Minister's position on the trade war issue and on the Cuban healthcare workers. We demand to know, Prime Minister. We demand leadership, Mr. Holness. We are crying out for leadership. In a time when the world is changing and the balance of power, Mr. Holness, is being shifted on the planet, you seem to only want to take for yourself for Jamaica. You don't want the people of Jamaica to be a part of the new power grab that we see happening globally. We're crying out for leadership, Andrew Holness. We're pleading for leadership. These are some big issues. These are some big decision times for our country, Prime Minister. We want decisive leadership on the trade war issue. We want decisive leadership on the Cuban healthcare worker issue, Prime Minister. We see your face topsy-turvy. We don't know what they tell you in a quiet, what you not tell we out a road. But we elect you to lead. Regardless of your personal problem and personal feelings and personal brouhaha with them, we, Prime Minister, elect you to lead something that is lacking in our country. Because we have seen where leaders across the Caribbean have spoken definitively on the issue, or decisively, whichever word you want to use. The Prime Minister is yet to face the people of Jamaica and speak to us. The only time the Prime Minister spoke on this issue was when he was standing with Marco. And we never get anything out of the Prime Minister then, or understand what the Prime Minister's position was. We're crying out for leadership, Andrew Holness. And if you don't think you can provide it, then do the decent thing by resolving Parliament and let the country decide. Don't follow Marlene with the fuckery. The whole of we know say Marlene dunce. Jesus, Marlene. Hey. Marlene. 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 Wake up, figure school. Wake up, wake up. Figure school, Marlene. You done, see, no? Me don't never set there and set you, so. Ban your ban, so. Or a counter. You tap on road. I play marble. Marlene Malahafort. But God go with your dunceness. Because I wouldn't want you upon my case. God go with your dunceness, Marlene Malahafort. And not only your dunceness, you know, your wickedness. Because you, Marlene, is ready to bypass the convention, to bypass the constitutional convention in order to give Andrew more time in. How much more you think Andrew can thief in the next few weeks, Marlene? Talk truth. Doreen Grace, thank you very much for the follow. Everyone, if you're here and you're not following yet, please hit the follow button, the red follow button right next to my name. Hit the button that says follow, please. How much more, Marlene, do you think Andrew can thief in the next few weeks? Him thief enough already, you know. You know, see how the country, you know, see the road and the hospital them done. If Andrew never thief off the money, why you think the road down the hospital them and all that without answer? Advise Andrew to do the decent thing. Take the whole on out on a disgrace. Rather than try to become a dictator, Marlene Malahafort. Ask the Prime Minister to do the decent thing and take on out of the nightmare and the disgrace. Because Uno have become worse than Buster, worse than Siaga, and worse than Bruce Golden with the AK-47s and the helicopter gunships. Uno. Anyway, my people, thank you very much for being here with us this evening on our geopolitical evening, where we look at the meltdown of the global economy, counter Trump trade war, and that was brought to us by Vantage and First Sport, as well as we looked at the wicked, thieving, lying, blood-sucking Bill Gates and our food industry. You know, as we always say, we know that these educational program is not popular. But let me tell you something. Me not teach you none of it dance. If you don't want dance, as my mother would have said, girl say wall, Wolsey gal there. Go on out there, go down span your own. But me now go take up my time and help nobody for dance. Okay? So if you don't enjoy when somebody come out here with mix up and pasa and baga, then you can't turn in the dark. Me nah teach no for dance. If you don't want dance, go on, go dance spawn own. See the big world there. Bugs the vitamin, how are you? See the big old world there. You can't go dance. You don't need company for dance. You need company if you want to be informed. But anybody can dance on their own. Just look on the labor rights them on social media. Anyway, my peeps, thank you very much for being here tonight. Have yourself an amazing weekend. Have yourself an amazing weekend. It will be an amazing weekend of weather in London as well. We will not be coming on tomorrow, but we'll see how it goes out here, and we'll definitely bring something to you on Sunday. So thank you all very much for another week spent. Have yourself an amazing weekend, and we will dance you out with the Lipstick Queens. Thank you, and good night from Global TV.
Oh, thy peace, God of my salvation, because the mouth of the sinful and wicked is open. Rastafari. Come with I. Rastaman throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Not a people there. Make a man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Only when man like Marcus Garvey speak, wicked men would I hear. Hear now hear. Instead of that, they only sit aside and rob and cheat, and not press the floor. Make up what I seen to. Make him a throw one stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Oh, what a plan! Make him a throw one stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. My favorite part: if Rasta make a progressive move, wicked men are red. How they want to see the day them can sell out Rasta and sell it out. I sell out Babylon. They give man show one stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. They give man show one stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. If Rasta make a progressive move, wicked men are red. How they want to see the dead and can sell out Rasta and sell out. I sell out Babylon. Just stop on the price. You might show us stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Oh, what a black thing, man, throw one stone, and they bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. You have eyes to see, let him see. You have ears to hear, let them hear. What a prophet must say. Verse President Mandela was in prison for 20 odd years. And he leave from the prison and take the seat of the president. Stone one, big him and Joe one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Oh, what's a black big him and Joe one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Rastaman throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men.
If you don't like missing out on the latest shows but still enjoy classic hits, then Global TV Group 358 is your perfect match. Global TV Group 358 isn't just another channel, it's your ultimate TV experience. From breaking news to binge-worthy dramas and timeless classics, we've got it all. Our unique blend of original content and global favorites means there's something for everyone. And guess what? With GTVG's seamless streaming, you can watch anywhere, anytime. Plus, our interactive features let you be part of the action. So, whether you're a seasoned binge watcher or a casual viewer, Global TV Group 358 is here to keep you entertained day and night. Don't just watch TV, experience it with Global TV Group 358. Subscribe now and never miss a moment.